Good day. Have you ever wondered what it takes to launch a space shuttle into orbit? If you've never taken the time to read about it, I'm here to give you a brief informative of what it consists of. So to start, here's your shuttle. You have some of the components are the two long solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, the external fuel tank in the back, which holds the fuel, the orbiter, which has three main engines and two orbital maneuvering system engines, or ORMs, or OMRs. The solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, are responsible for 71% of the thrust required to get into space. They use a solid fuel, and they consist of certain components like flight instruments, recovery system like the parachutes, and explosive charges that when it gets to a certain height, they discharge and they eject them from the shuttle and fall down to the ocean. The external fuel tank in the back, it holds two types of liquid fuel. Liquid oxygen, which is a smaller portion, and it goes in the front fuel tank, and liquid hydrogen, which takes up a majority of the tank. It's about 1 part to 6 parts. Your orbiter has the three main engines, which fire one at a time, only 0.12 thousandths of a second between each other. They feed fuel from the external fuel tank at a rate of about a family-sized swimming pool in about 10 seconds. And the external fuel tank holds about 526,000 gallons of fuel. And then the orbital maneuvering system engines are responsible for taking the orbiter from a low orbit into higher orbit after it's already in the exosphere. So the way the sequence works during takeoff is at T-minus 31 seconds, the onboard computers take over. At T-minus 6.6 seconds, the main engines fire, one at a time, but only 12 thousandths of a second between each other, so it seems like instantaneous. It seems at the same time. At T-minus 3 seconds, the shuttle's main engines are in liftoff position, and then at T-minus 0, the SRBs, they fire. The interesting thing about the SRBs is that since they're solid rocket boosters, they fire last. Since they're rockets, essentially, they cannot be shut down. So that's the reason they fire last. Once they start, they cannot be stopped. At T plus 20 seconds, the orbiter goes from this position from 0 to about this position. And at 2 minutes, the SRBs separate and fall into the ocean where they're recovered. At T plus 7.7 minutes, the engines throttle down, these main engines on the orbiter, because these SRBs are gone by this point. Those engines, they throttle down because they try to keep it below 3 Gs so it doesn't tear apart the shuttle. At this point, the orbiter and the external fuel tank are essentially like in space. At T plus 9 minutes, the external fuel tank separates, and the external fuel tank does not get recovered. It burns up upon re-entry as it falls to the earth. At T plus 10.5 minutes, these orbital maneuvering systems, as described earlier, they fire, and what they do is they place the shuttle into a low orbit, and about 30 minutes later, at T plus 45 minutes, those orbiter maneuvering systems fire again, and it takes it into a higher orbit. And at this point, the orbiter is in space with its crew and whatever on board that it needs. So that is what it takes to get 4.5 millions of pounds, about 400 miles, into space. Thank you.